morning and good afternoon to some, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you very much for joining us today. I would also like to extend a special welcome to Mr. Edward Clark, who is the CEO from the Nauru Program Office. Welcome, Edward. Wonderful to have you here with us. So Edward will be taking us through Nauru's Economic and Climate Resilience Citizenship Program. He will talk about the country, the requirements and the benefits, and also the process required. But before we delve into the Nauru program, I would like to just start by giving you all a very brief introduction to Henley & Partners for those who are not familiar with us. So currently, today, we've got just over 60 offices worldwide. We are the absolute leaders in the residency and citizenship by investment industry with over 25 years of experience. We will be talking today about the Nauru program, but there are also more than 40 different investment migration options that we can assist clients with. Throughout the 25 plus years, we've been able to assist over 25,000 clients in order to obtain alternative residency or citizenship in the investment migration space. We also have over 15 active government mandates in place, and we have been able to assist governments worldwide to raise more than $15 billion in foreign direct investment. So we first and foremost specialize, of course, in assisting private clients and their families with investment migration, but we also have a range of alternative and complementary services that we also offer, that being education, global education. We can assist clients globally with placing their children in primary, secondary, or tertiary institutions. We also assist with real estate acquisition and also concierge services that we do provide. Second to our private client advisory services, we also actively advise governments through our government advisory team worldwide in terms of how to set up their programs. We assist governments with the design and obviously the promotion and the operation of the programs as well. So this really is just to give you sort of an overview of our global presence and our various offices around the world. What makes Henley & Partners also very unique is the fact that we, in most cases, we always have a local office in the country where our clients reside. So that really makes us, giving us an overview and a very good understanding of the local legislation, and then also through our offices in the country where we are assisting clients to obtain their residency or citizenship in, we will have a local presence there as well. And like I mentioned earlier on, there are just over 40 various programs that we can assist clients with. So of course, this just gives us a very quick view of the options, and you can see that there are multiple options available in Europe, ranging from residency to citizenship programs. Asia, of course, Oceania, where we will be discussing Nauru today, Africa, Middle East, Caribbean, as well as the Americas. So before I hand over to Edward shortly, I would like to encourage all of you to please post any questions that you've got in the Q&A section, and we will definitely allow for time at the end of the presentation to address all your questions. So without further ado, Edward, over to you. Welcome again, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Amanda. It's a pleasure to be here today. It is evening my time here in New Zealand, which is where I am based. But of course, good morning and good afternoon to many of you global citizens around the world who are joining the call today. Look, I'm absolutely delighted to be here and be partnered with Henley & Partners as part of the Nauru Economic and Climate Resilience Citizenship Program. As Amanda mentioned, I'm the CEO of the program office. So I'd like to spend a bit of time sharing a bit of insight with you all about the program. But I think what a good place to start is actually to talk a little bit about the island itself. So the obvious question is no, I'm not a native Nauruan, but you've probably already guessed that by now. But I have been there many times, and of course, we work very closely with the Nauru government on this initiative. The island is probably, and the country is probably one of the least known countries in the world, in fact, because it is one of the smallest countries in the world. It has a population of approximately 12,000. It is located just on the equator. If you draw a line between Australia and New Zealand and go directly north until you hit the equator, then you'll find the island of Nauru. Because it is on the equator, it is a tropical and consistent climate all year round. They speak Nauruan. They have their own native language, which is spoken by all 12,000 of the population. But of course, English is also widely spoken. And Nauru was a former Commonwealth country as well. And they use the Australian dollar. It is, I would say, a simple country, but a very beautiful country and one that I obviously hold very close to my heart. And some of you who have heard of Nauru before may be aware of it because of its phosphate resources. And one of the interesting facts about the island is it was once one of the wealthiest countries in the world per capita because of the vast and rich phosphate resources that they had access to. Now, these resources are nearly depleted, and the country is now, of course, looking for ways to diversify their economy and strengthen their infrastructure and strengthen their climate and economic resilience, which is where we come in. But we're starting to see some of those different industries develop already through sustainable tourism, through ecotourism, through fishing, and now hopefully with the Economic and Climate Resilience Citizenship Program, we'll start to see a bit more in the climate innovation space as well, which is something that we are working on. So you're obviously here today to learn a little bit more about the Nauru Economic and Climate Resilience Citizenship Program. So the program itself is new in the scheme of the citizenship by investment landscape. We launched at COP29 last year, which is one of the world's leading global climate forum for nations to get together to talk about some of their climate challenges and how they're collectively going to address these. And we were able to launch the program at COP29 against a backdrop of climate financing because this is a unique way in which the government of Nauru are actually looking to raise funds to address their economic and climate resilience. So by participating in the Nauru Economic and Climate Resilience Citizenship Program, you are able to obtain a secondary citizenship and support the country's vital climate adaptation projects and economic resilience adaptation projects. The overall process is fast, and one of the things that I'm delighted to announce today is that just very recently we had our first applicants approved. So on the slides you'll see decisions are typically made within 3 to 4 months. This is holding true for the first applications. It took a total of 5 months from the application being accepted through to the applicants receiving their passports. Now, given that this was the first applications, things took a little bit longer than expected, and we worked through a few teething issues. but we've been able to resolve those very quickly, and we're very confident that we'll continue to meet our 3 to 4 month overall target. And certainly in terms of making a decision on the application itself, that was done within the targeted 3 to 4 month timeframe. So it's a very exciting opportunity, and I'm sure one that you're wanting to learn a little bit more about. So what are the benefits of holding Nauru citizenship? And what are the benefits of applying to the program itself? Well, I think the first thing is Nauru recognizes dual citizenship. So there's no restrictions on applying for Nauru citizenship in terms of having to renounce your current citizenship. That's, I think, integral probably for most citizenship by investment programs. The second point is obviously the visa-free travel. And now, while Nauru doesn't have access to Schengen from a visa-free, the Schengen area from a visa-free perspective, we do have access to a number of key destinations, including Hong Kong, Singapore, the UAE, and the United Kingdom. So it offers a number of key destinations from a visa-free travel perspective. We also offer quite broad and inclusive family inclusion. So your spouse can be included in the application. Dependents can be included in the application, including parents and siblings. And we also have a post-application approval process, which means that grandparents and grandchildren can also be added to the application as well, once that core nexus family has applied. Another interesting thing about the Nauru program is you can include siblings in the application as well for an additional fee, provided that the sibling has not been married. Of course, one of the key things about the Nauru Economic and Climate Resilient Citizenship Program is where the contribution is going. And while obtaining a secondary citizenship, you're also able to make a material contribution, particularly for an island of this size, that will help them address, some of the infrastructure and climate challenges that they have. And Nauru is the 5th most vulnerable country in the world, vulnerable climate country in the world, I should say. So to raise these funds, it is helping them really address an existential crisis where they're facing issues like rising sea levels. Given the small size of the island, they are facing other issues like water desalination, saltwater contamination in their fresh water supply. They have limited access to running water itself. So you'll start to see some of the contributions going towards projects like solar energy, into water desalination, and they have an initiative called the Higher Ground Initiative, which is actually looking to relocate some of their residents away from the low-lying sea levels into the higher top side of the island, as they call it, which they are currently working on the pilot site for. So it's really exciting to be involved in the citizenship program that is actually having such a material impact on the future of the people of Nauru. And that's personally why I wanted to get involved in this initiative. So I look after the program office, so we are responsible for administering the Citizenship by Investment program. We have direct accountability to the president and the minister in charge. And we work to make sure that both the process is efficient, and we've been able to demonstrate that already, but also that we are able to uphold the reputation of the country through the due diligence that we conduct. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the session. What many of you will obviously be wanting to understand is, how do you actually apply and what will it cost me? So firstly, to apply, you need to go through a licensed agent, such as Henley and Partners, and we're delighted to have such a professional organization such as Henley and Partners be one of our sort of key and flagship, I should say, agents working with us on the program. Your agent, and if you're working with Henley and Partners, will provide very professional advisory services to you in terms of what the necessary documentation requirements are. To give you a high-level overview of what we need to obtain, it is information around your identity and any of your family members' identity, information around your employment, information around, in particular, source of wealth and source of funds. And it's really important for us to make sure that wealth and funds that are being contributed towards the country have come from legitimate sources. I would say it's really important to be forthcoming with information, and we generally find that an application will go through the process much smoother if more information is provided upfront. We do have quite in-depth due diligence that we conduct, and the more information that's provided upfront, it will help us address those questions and make sure the process goes through quickly. Otherwise, we end up having to go back to the agent to go through to the applicant for further information. So if you are interested in applying, I do encourage you to be forthcoming with information required to support your application. It is a confidential process, so no personal information will be shared outside of the program office other than with the bank and with the financial intelligence unit in Nauru. Your application will be submitted through to us by your licensed agent, and we work very closely with the licensed agents, firstly in the outset, even to make sure that a lot of the applications have a strong chance of success. And we do have some eligibility criteria, which we will see some people turned away at the outset because they do not meet our eligibility. I'll share a little bit more about that shortly. But we do some initial checks just to get a reasonable sense of the application's likelihood of success before we even accept the application. Once we accept the application, the initial application fee and due diligence fee will be required to be paid through to the office. And after that, then we commence our more thorough due diligence checks. This process typically takes about 1 month to complete. Once we've formed a view of the applicant, we put forward a recommendation that goes through to the Nauru Government Cabinet, who will ultimately make the decision to approve or reject the application. And so far, every application that we have submitted through to Cabinet has been approved. Once that approval is obtained, we will share that with the agent immediately and invoice for the contribution payment, which is the payment that goes through to the government for their economic and climate resilience projects. Now, at that point, once the payment has been made, then the applicant is required to complete the oath of allegiance and complete the passport forms. And once they are received, the citizenship certificate will be signed by the president and the passports will be issued. Now, one of the key things about this entire process is the entire application can be done remotely. So there's no need to actually travel to the island at any point to complete the process, which I think is one of the key benefits that this program offers. So what does it cost to obtain Nauru citizenship? So we do have a tiered approach. So if you're a single applicant, the contribution amount is 105,000. For a family up to 4, it increases slightly up to 110,000 and 115,000 for a family of 5 or more. If you want to include a spouse, if you want to include a sibling and his or her spouse, the additional fee of $15,000 contribution amount applies as well. There are other fees that are included. As I mentioned earlier, there's an application fee that starts at $25,000 and will go up to $29,000 depending on the size of the family. And then there is also a due diligence fee which starts at $10,000 and will increase by $7,500 for each additional family member. So all up, if you're looking to apply for Nauru citizenship as a single applicant, just as a starting point, the total cost will be $140,000. So I mentioned a little bit about the eligibility criteria. So the main thing is we want to be accepting applicants that are good quality, I would say. And some of the key things that we're looking for in the initial screening, obviously they need to be at least 18 years of age. They need to be of good character and be able to demonstrate good character. We need to be able to evidence a relatively clean criminal record. On the slides, it says no criminal record, but I should point out, provided that an applicant has not been sentenced to prison for over a year, then you still will be eligible to apply. So some minor criminal record are okay. And again, this is why we work very closely with our agents to sort of conduct some pre-screening before an applicant even submits their application, because we can provide advice and guidance at a very early stage whether that would be eligible or whether that is likely to cause any issues. So if you are interested in applying, I'd certainly encourage you to talk to the team at Henley and Partners and explore what that might look like. Of course, the applicant needs to be able to pass the due diligence checks that are conducted and have the financial means in order to pay the contribution. So I've talked a little bit already about the due diligence checks that are conducted. So due diligence will be conducted on all applicants that are over 16 years of age. We work with a number of third-party due diligence firms that conduct background checks on the applicants. The main thing that we are looking for is, to be able to verify that the person is who they say they is. So, if you've said you work at company X, we will go and do checks to make sure that actually, we can verify that you've worked in that company. Or if you've said you've obtained your wealth from, either selling property or shares, we need to be able to evidence that. And we need to conduct some checks to basically verify that this information is correct to the best of our ability. We also do checks to make sure that the identification that has been presented to us is legitimate and authentic, such as birth certificates, passports, etc. And again, I mentioned it's really important that you provide as much information up front, obviously within reason. We don't want to be bombarded, and we don't want to bombard you with endless documentation. So we are pragmatic in that respect. But it is important to be transparent around shareholdings, directorships, any other kind of associations, and to be transparent around where your wealth has been generated and to provide evidence of that. It'll really help make the application go through seamlessly, I should say. The other thing I should add just around the due diligence process is that every applicant, the main applicant is required to undergo an interview. And that is really just an opportunity for us, again, to validate the information that has been provided in the application form and give us an opportunity to ask any questions around things that we may have identified during the due diligence process or things that we just need to clarify in order to make sure the application can be approved. So hopefully that gives you a fairly reasonable understanding of the Nauru Economic and Climate Resilience Citizenship Program. I think, I mentioned I'm here because this is an opportunity to make a material impact on the people for the people of Nauru in terms of the contribution that it makes. And for an applicant, it's an incredible second citizenship that you can have access to at a very reasonable price. So I would encourage you all to explore if you are interested in applying, and please work with the team at Henley and Partners if you are interested. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Edward. Really appreciate all of that. I see we already have one question. Let's just have a look. Right, this is just one of the attendees asking if we can have a webinar series also on some of the other European countries. And of course, we do hold and give group-wide presentations on all the different regions. So I would also encourage you, if you want any further information on those programs, please reach out to us, and we will be very happy to schedule a consultation and take you through the process afterwards. Edward, we've got another question here, just in terms of the citizenship that one can obtain through Nauru. Can that be passed on to future generations?
Yes, it can. So, but there are some limitations. Currently, the way the program has been designed is that it can be passed on to children and to grandchildren, but it does not pass down through generations indefinitely. And we can support the family members with the additional grant of citizenship to any family members that are, say, born after the application were included or adopted after the initial application has been completed.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Another question, is there any chance that Nauru and China signed visa-free agreements in future, and the EU as well?
How to answer this? I'm optimistic that I mean, I should say that Nauru and China have a very strong diplomatic relation. And I know that visa-free access between the two countries is on the agenda. And I know that the president will be raising it on his next visit and meeting with Xi Jinping when he gets the next opportunity. So it is on the agenda. Whether it happens or not, time will tell, but we are certainly optimistic that this will be achieved. In terms of European access, this one, again, would be delighted and very optimistic that this can be achieved, but it is much more challenging to obtain, particularly as the European view on citizenship by investment programs is a little bit challenging at this point in time. That being said, we are actively engaged, and I have a good relationship with the EU ambassador here in New Zealand, and I met with him only a couple of months ago to discuss the matter. So we are working on that, but whether it can be achieved in the short or medium term, I'm realistic.
Thank you. We also had another question here about a different program. So again, I would encourage everyone on the call, on the webinar today, if you would like to find out any more information, there are many programs, and obviously there's a lot of developments in the investment migration industry. Just to head over to our website and you can request a callback or download any of the fact sheets, and we'll be very happy to put one of our private client advisors in contact with you to take you through those processes. Just in terms of the proximity, Edward, for Nauru to New Zealand, I mean, how far is it from each other, and what are sort of the relations between the two countries, if any, just as a matter of interest?
So, well, probably the best way to answer this is how do you actually get to Nauru? And you can't get there directly from New Zealand, which is where I'm based. You have to travel either from Fiji or from Brisbane in Australia. It's about a 3-hour flight from either of those destinations. But of course, for someone applying, you don't need to travel there. But you may, of course, wish to visit your new sort of adopted home country. So you can access it either through Brisbane or Fiji. For me to get there, I have to take another 3-hour flight either from Fiji or, sorry, from New Zealand to Fiji or Brisbane.
Right.
I think in terms of the diplomatic relations, obviously Nauru and Australia, they have a very close relationship. And the diplomatic relations are very strong. They recently signed a treaty with Australia in support of telecommunications and security. So the Australian government has provided a significant amount of funding to Nauru to help them with um, uh, building out their telecommunications and police force and a few other things. In terms of just the overall Pacific, I know uh, the Secretary General of the Pacific Island Forum, Baron Wonga, who I know quite well, is really pushing for greater visa-free access across all the Pacific Island countries, so including Australia and New Zealand. And I think what they would ideally like to achieve and are pushing for through the Pacific Island Forum is whether visa-free sort of zone can be set up similar to Schengen in the Pacific. Now, whether that again can be achieved or not, time will tell, but it is certainly something that we are supportive of. And of course, I'd love to see New Zealand open up as a visa-free travel destination for the Nauru passport as well. And again, it's something that is high on my agenda.
Thank you, Edward. I mean, the Nauru program, of course, already is a very beneficial program for many different reasons. And it's very positive and encouraging to hear that there are potential for further benefits along the line. But as it stands today, it is a really, really good option for our clients. I'd like to thank you again for your time, joining us, taking us through the process. And again, for all the attendees, if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out at any time. And thank you for taking the time in joining us today. Wishing you a wonderful day, Ed.